We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Man, it's good to be here. Thank you. Thank you for co-creating this moment with me. And as is our practice, Marisol, if we can begin with We Are Awakening, and now is when we get to greet each other in the chat. Thank you, Marisol. And I'm going to say this before I read the purpose because I don't know if I'll be able to read unless I say this first. I recently learned something called the echo. Oh, the chills, which essentially means that if you sit in your space and you sit in the consciousness or the energy that you're experiencing this present moment in the world, and or you're sending out love, or you're seeing everybody, the world about you in a certain way, what happens is that there's an echo and it reflects back to you what you're sending out, if that makes sense. So I was sitting, listening to this song, watching people show up, and just feeling how much I love each and every one of you, and how miraculous it is that we're doing what we do together. Like it's blowing my mind away. And then like a sonic boom, it all came back to me, and like my heart just like blew open. So I want to say thank you for your love. Here we are at Awakening Together, our purpose. We are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The gathering this week is calling for core value number 5. We accept all forms as temporary appearances permitted through enduring awareness of self. We live this value by honoring all appearances and all experiences while continually reflecting on changeless truth. And I'm so glad that I get to hand things over to Rhoda now for announcements so I can catch my breath. Your love, our love, is heating up this body at the moment. It's extraordinary. Rhoda, it's all yours.
Thank you, Cyndi. Good morning, everybody. We're going to do something a little bit different this morning than we normally do with announcements. I am going to take you on a tour. I love tours. I think they're fun, but I'm going to take you on a tour. We're going to take you on a little tour of the website and just help you to locate the tons and tons of resources that we have available, especially those free resources. We have lots and lots of those. Most of you are familiar with our website. As I share my screen, this is awakening-together.org, and we are on the home page. And there's a couple things I wanted to point out to you. The home page actually mirrors this navigation bar. So as you scroll down the home page, you will find each and every one of these pieces of information, at least the top line of it. So what I'm going to do is just scroll down for you. The first couple of panes that you see here are about us. The next pane is the news. So everything that's most recently happening, including joining us for the weekly gathering and recordings. You can find what's happening most recently here. And then if you want more news, you can just click on that more news buttons. And then we have events. And these are all the events that are happening at Awakening Together. Our first button is the online sanctuary. Our second button is the courses that are happening now. And the third button is retreats. And I hope you'll notice that as I'm scrolling down, we are on events. And the next one is going to be sanctuary. So you can see how they just match up. So you can find information on how to join our sanctuary, how to listen, how to use the radio app. The next, you'll find courses. The courses that are always available for free are listed here. Information on scholarship, information on other courses that are being offered. And I just want to show you that every time you see these little arrows on the side of cards, that means there might be more to see there. So if you flip through and they're just repeating, then you know there's nothing more to see, but there could be more to see there. And then we go down and we have retreats. And then we have the retreat house. And then we have resources. And resources is actually a place I'm going to bring you back to, but I just want to keep showing you here. All of these buttons on here are things that you can get to that are all of our available resources for you. And then there's another place up here on the navigation bar to get to resources, which I'll take you to in a moment. And then we have membership, and we have subscribing to the daily newsletter. We have our donate option down here. And then we have outreach, where you can make prayer requests and you can request one-on-one mentoring, and you can find out about mentoring sanghas, and you can make benevolence requests. So that is the entire homepage. So in case you haven't had a chance to look at the homepage, I just invite you to explore it. It's a great place to figure out where you want to be on the website. But I am specifically going to take you to resources. So when I click on resources on the navigation bar versus at the homepage, I'm just going to scroll you back up to resources here. This little books thing. You'll see if you go from the homepage, you can get to books, you can get to audio recordings, you can get to inspirational articles, you can get to the YouTube channel, you can get to the forum, you can get to the radio, you can get to our podcasts. So any of these buttons will take you to those places on the website. If you click on resources up here, it's going to take you to the home page of the resources. And down the left side, you're going to see the resources that we have available. And what I wanted to show you was ebooks. If any of you have been following Regina's Living Inquiry Guide, you will find that guide here, along with a direct link to the meditations and teachings she's been sharing on YouTube, in case you haven't seen those. So if you click on this link, it's going to take you to the Living Inquiry Guide right there, which you are welcome to download. That is available for free. And if you click on the YouTube link, that's going to take you to the playlist, which currently has 7 videos. And you can see those videos right there. And that also is available for free. There's also many books on here, not from Awakening Together, but free spiritual books that you may find interesting. So just wanted to let you know that that is there. The other place I wanted to show you was practices. In practices, you can find all of the guided meditations that are available through Awakening Together. There is quite a list of those. You can also find the handout on root cause inquiry. So I wanted to make you aware that those are there. This is also a place, I'm going to take you back to the top here, where you can get to the forum. The forum is a place where you can read articles, or if you're participating in a class, it'll give you information there. But that is our discussion group known as the forum. And one of the reasons that I wanted to show you all this, if you keep scrolling down, you'll see there's more. There's the podcast you can get to, the YouTube channel you can get to. There's all the inspirational articles that we have. And then there's specifically Jeshua through Brett Haskell, which is available here. There's music available here. We've got music from Resta Burnham, and we've got Yolanda's music here. And then we have Rebecca Folsom's music available here when she did a concert for us. So there's lots of places to get to know what sorts of inspirational music we have available. So just lots and lots and lots of resources we invite you to utilize. And I will say that these are available. This is our donate button. You can find this both on our homepage and on our navigation bar. Our resources are available because of the generosity of you and because this brings value to each and every one of you. And so at this beginning of this season of giving, I want to say thank you on behalf of everyone in this community. Thank you for giving with your heart. Thank you for donating with your heart, both your time and your resources. And we couldn't do this without you. As we enter into this season of giving, if you find that you are getting value from Awakening Together and you're feeling called to make a donation, we would gratefully accept that. And this is where you might potentially decide to make those donations. And I think that is all I have to share today. Love you guys. And that is the only announcement. Back to you, Cyndi.
I agree with Joe. The website is sparkling. Oh, okay. Next is the song, and forgive me, linear time and I, we don't have as good a relationship as we once had, so I don't remember how long ago it was. It was in the last couple of years that I was taking an early morning walk, and all of a sudden words to a song started playing over and over in my head. I didn't like the song, and the tone sounded familiar. I had no idea what the song was. But every 10 feet, it would just start playing. When I got back to my apartment, it was fairly easy to find the song. It's called Human. I don't remember when I learned about it. It was probably before I was on the spiritual path. I had never really listened to it. Since then, I have listened to the words over and over again, and I'm certain I've played it in gatherings before. It was interesting because as I was sitting here listening to the music that Marisol was playing, there was a song before the last song where the artist was singing "I'm only human after all," something along those lines. I'd like to suggest that you pay attention to the words of this song and to recognize that everything you say after those words, "I am," is limiting. This song invites us to let go of identifying as human and to let go of all of the positive attributes that come from being human. A big part of the reading today, for me anyway, I've been having a very emotional experience with the reading, is inviting us to die before we die. To understand that when we let go of our attachments, as subtle and as normal as these attachments are for the human being, we can let go of our addiction to suffering. And it all sort of comes together. So I wanted to let you know that for me, this song is a gift from Spirit, came out of nowhere on a walk. And it's been informing my practice ever since. And so I invite you to pay attention to the lyrics and to allow the experience. Marisol, please. Thank you. Invocation, intention, prayer. It's really a very simple prayer. My prayer is that you, number one, with an open heart, that you accept my love and my appreciation for your presence. Please. We are co-creating this space together, And the more present you are in this moment to that, not to Cyndi, but to whatever it is that brought you into this place, the more alive what we're co-creating becomes. My intention is, my prayer for this now moment is that we have a direct experience of this moment, that we say yes. The reading again, which is blowing me away, reminds me that that's all it takes, is to drop yesterday and tomorrow and to be here. That's it. We will never awaken tomorrow, period. We will never know the truth tomorrow, period. And awakening is never for somebody else. It's never something that somebody else has. Everything about awakening together, for as long as I've, well, whatever called me to it, is this deep understanding that together we get to connect and embody the truth. And that's my prayer. And my prayer isn't to provide you with the information that you can take away and allow yourself. There's something about Lonnie's laugh and smile, by the way, that lights me up from the inside out. So there you have it. I'm looking at the gallery. She just smiled in my own lens. I went, eh! But that's my intention. Yeah, is that we just do it now. Let's just know the truth now. Okay, so the reading, a couple more things that I want to say before we just start the reading. Here's what happens for me as an Awakening Together minister. An email goes out from Rhoda every quarter, and it says to all the ministers, inviting us to consider leading a gathering. I always say yes. It's part of my service. It's part of what lights me up. I don't do it for you, by the way. If you thought I did it because somehow Cyndi thinks there's some sort of superpower and she's going to benefit you by saying yes to leading a gathering, then I got to tell you, I know that there ain't no you separate from me. Saying yes to leading the gathering is like Yolanda singing. Whenever we do that, whenever we say yes to what lights us up from the inside, it's sort of like God, the divine, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call the part of us that knows who we are, that's kind of in charge of this moment right now. We're giving that the opportunity to do its thing and remind us how loved we are, remind us that we've never left home, transform, open, expand. There's a lot of different words speaking the same thing. So I say yes. And then at some point, I get a date. At some point, Rhoda gives me a date. And that date goes into my heart. And sometimes 6 weeks beforehand, sometimes 5 or 4 weeks beforehand, something activates within me, and the work of awakening through this gathering begins in me. The next step that happened for me this time is I was in the same presence with Sami, and they said, Sami, will you read for me? She's not gonna be able to read for anybody for too much longer, by the way, because within the next X number of months, she's gonna be a minister, which is really exciting. So Sami said, yes, I'd love to, something like that. And then a short period after that, I found myself walking around my apartment, looking at my bookcases. I picked a book that I have not actually read. There's a lot of books in this house, by the way, that have made it to my house that I haven't yet read. And I sat with it, and it opened to today's reading, The End of Suffering. Adyashanti, The End of Suffering. I've read this reading, and by the way, I then transcribed it into a PDF. So legally, like, I didn't send it to Marisol. It's not part of this. But if any of my friends don't have this book, but they just want the reading because they want to contemplate the reading, just let me know, because Cyndi doesn't mind sort of you know, let them come after Cyndi relative to copyright laws, I guess. But this reading is just blowing me away. And then, so I get the reading, and then the songs just drop. I outline, as a good minister, I've made some mistakes. We all have, becoming an awakening, doing these gatherings. There's a lot of energy. At some point, I sit and write, do this, then this, then this, then this. So I follow our structure. This time especially, over the last couple of days, I've watched the thinking mind attempt to tell me what I was going to say once I started doing the teaching or the homily part, and I just laughed at it because I still don't know exactly what's going to be said, but the part that knows knows, and I trust it completely. Yeah. So again, everything about what we're doing here is coming from whatever it is that brought all of us here. So as I hand things over to our beloved Sami Ross to read this excerpt from Falling into Grace, not falling from grace, Falling into Grace by Adyashanti. Know that you're here to say yes to what's being offered. And Adyashanti taught me to listen to these readings lightly. I've heard him say like a softly falling summer rain. So don't even bother to let the intellect try to understand it. Just be with it. And with that, Sami, it's all yours.
Thank you, Reverend Cyndi. It's my joy and my honor to be here. This is an excerpt from Falling into Grace by Adyashanti. Chapter 8, The End of Suffering. In capital letters, he writes, "There's one thing about which I would like to be completely clear. If we want to stop suffering, if we really want to bring an end to suffering, we've got to wake up. Waking up means awakening to the truth of our being. And it also means waking up from a whole host of illusions. The truth is that waking up can be a disturbing process. Who really wants to find out that everything they thought was real was nothing but a pocket full of dreams? Who wants to find out that everything they hold on to and cling to is the very reason that they suffer? Who really wants to find out that we're all addicted to qualities like approval, recognition, control, and power, and that none of these things actually brings an end to suffering? In fact, they're the cause of suffering. So the truth is that most of us don't really want to wake up. We don't really want to end suffering. What we really want to do is manage our suffering, to have a little bit less of it, so that we could just go on with our lives as they are, unchanged, the way we want to live them, maybe feeling a little better about them. But there is a disturbing truth here. The disturbing truth is that coming to the end of suffering isn't really a personal matter at all. Coming to the end of suffering has to do with reality and truth, with what's real as opposed to what's not real, valuing what's actual instead of what's imagined. The whole process of wakening from the dream is very profound, and for most people there's a real difficulty and even a disturbing quality to it, because it means we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. I don't mean looking at ourselves in the mirror the way we usually do, with regret, judgment, and blame. I mean looking in the mirror in a different way, where we're finally willing to see We are the ones who are causing our suffering, and it's we alone who can find the way out. So waking up is a bit like an alcoholic or drug addict experiences when they are coming out of their addiction. Most addicts only let go of their addiction when they've really seen that there's no possibility of being happy and being an addict. Up until that time, most addicts are in the constant process of negotiation with life. They think, well, I can be an addict some of the time, or I could be a little bit of an addict, but not a lot of an addict, or I can quit whenever I want to. They try to moderate their urges, but in between it all, their urges still have the upper hand and spiral them into suffering. So when does an addict actually stop? They tend to quit when they hit bottom, when they've seen the wisdom of absolutely no escape, that nothing's going to work except facing themselves and their situation where they are. For a lot of us, we can look at others who seem to be struggling and say, well, at least I'm not an addict. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't abuse drugs. But truthfully, almost all of us are addicts. And the deepest thing we're addicted to, our drug of choice, is actually suffering. The very thing we want to be without is the thing we're addicted to, and that's suffering. Not many people will admit it. Not many people even want to know that they're addicted to suffering. But when you look at it very sincerely, you'll see that many of us have no idea how to live life without suffering. We have no idea how to interact, how to be, what to do with our time and energy if we weren't suffering. One of the most important steps in the process of coming to the end of suffering is seeing that there's something deep inside of us that actually wants to suffer, that actually indulges in suffering. As I've mentioned, there's a piece of us that wants to suffer because it is through suffering that we maintain this wall of separation around us. It is through our suffering that we can continue to hold on to everything we think is true. Wearing the veil of suffering, we don't really have to look at ourselves and say, I'm the one that's dreaming. I'm the one that's full of illusions. I'm the one that's holding on with everything I have. It's much easier to see that the other person is caught in illusion. That's easy. So-and-so over there, they're completely lost in illusion. They don't know the truth. It's a whole other thing to say, no, no, no. I'm the one who's caught in illusion. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's true. And part of me actually wants to suffer because then I can remain separate and distinct. Certainly on a conscious level, no one wants to suffer, yet we continue to hold on to our ideas, thoughts, and beliefs as if our lives depended on them. In a certain way, our lives do depend on them. Not our true lives, but the lives of our egos, the lives of who we think we are. The way we want to see ourselves depends on them. That part of ourselves that wants to see itself as separate doesn't really want to merge back with the source, but would rather pay the price and stand up as a separate being, no matter what the cost, and assert its views upon the world. Suffering is entirely optional. What I'm talking about here isn't the kind of self-examination that we're used to. People in the spiritual world are often busy meditating, chanting the name of God, and doing various spiritual practices and prayers as a means of trying to bring happiness to themselves and to garner God's grace. Spiritual people often listen to the teachings of great awakened ones and try to apply them, but they often miss the key element, and that is, we're addicted to being ourselves. We're addicted to our own self-centeredness. We're addicted to our suffering. We're addicted to our beliefs and our worldview. We really think that the universe would collapse if we relinquish our part in it. In this way, we actually want to continue suffering. Most addicts come up with a whole variety of reasons why they're addicted, and some of those reasons may be very valid and have some truth to them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when we're addicted to something, anything, it's because we choose to be. We might blame it on something else, on somebody else, on certain circumstances in our lives. And of course, painful moments in our lives might have something to do with our suffering and with the things to which we're addicted. But when it comes to here and now in this moment, the truth is, we're not in the past anymore. The truth is that whatever happened, happened. It's past tense. There's something in us that tends to want to hold on to it, to grasp onto it, mostly because we're terrified to let go of the very things that make us suffer. Because if we let go of the past, we wouldn't know who we are anymore. We wouldn't be able to clothe ourselves in the past. We wouldn't be able to feel sorry for ourselves. We would stand in this moment and this moment only, and we would face ourselves without judgment, shame, or guilt. Time is the biggest barrier to awakening. Take a moment and imagine that there is no time. Take a moment to just let go of tomorrow. What if letting go of suffering wasn't possible tomorrow? That today, even right now, was all you had, and you had nothing else but today. All of a sudden, you would look at the whole experience through completely different eyes. See if you can feel what it is to exist only now. See what it's like to completely take tomorrow and yesterday out of the picture. Some people fear that to do this would lead to feeling desperation or despondency in life. They kick and scream against the idea. I couldn't. That would be awful. But if you could feel desperate, despondent, or depressed by this notion, it's because you still haven't removed tomorrow. Because that despondency is only an idea that tomorrow will be the same as today. So is it possible for you to remove all notions of tomorrow just for a moment? Is it really possible to stop and admit that you don't even know? I lost my place. 1 second. There it is. Is it really possible to stop and admit that you don't even know how to stop? Tell yourself the truth. You don't know how. Nobody knows how to stop. Nobody knows how to not suffer. Nobody knows how to awaken. These are all self-evident truths. Everyone knows these truths if they look at them, but who wants to know them? Who wants to know that they don't know how to not suffer? Who wants to know that they don't know how to wake up? But if you let it in, if you really let it in, just like an addict letting in the knowledge that they don't know how to stop, what happens? See if you can taste true stopping, even for a moment. When you stop, do you suffer? Or in the moment of stopping, does suffering disappear? Your mind may say, well, it stopped for this moment, but what about tomorrow? Well, that means you haven't completely stopped, because in total stopping, there is a death. Something dies before you die. What you are can't die, but the idea of yourself is destined to die. There is absolutely nothing that will take the place of really stopping and dying before you die. This is not a physical death I'm talking about. This is the death of who you think you are, of your past and your future. All of that exists only in imagination. Right now, there's always and only freedom and peace. The question is that what you really want? Thank you.
And I agree with Shauna. Man, was that perfect. And I don't know about any of you, but there are chills running up and down my spine right now. And let's take a moment with that question. Right now, there is always and only freedom and peace. The question is that what you really want? Is that what you want? Now, I'm going to tell you what happens here when I sit with that question. There's a yes. And on some level, there's a yes with everyone in this room, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But I can also tell you there's an ache in the heart. There is energetic history. There's stuff here that is clinging to the past. I had an experience. My daughter's been up from Kentucky all week. I could spend a lot of time talking about a lot of the things that happened and meeting her partner for the first time. And boy, I do like him. And yet, you know, the human in me would love to help fix both of them, right? I don't know about you, but there is this energetic, you know, desire to. But there was this dinner last night. There was a memory that came up. I used to create these elaborate scavenger hunts for my two girls. And once they learned how to drive, my younger one never wanted them to stop. My older one could care less, Sarah. And there was the last year where it included them having to drive around the village. And there was a clue behind a park bench at Glen Falls. And I got this emergency call from them because there was a couple making out on the bench. And so they were not, they like sat there and watched the clue from a distance. So they called me so I could read the clue. And then the next clue was at a park with swings, and the clue was underneath a slide. And these two like 16, 17-year-olds went and collected something on the slide. And there were some parents there with young children who got it in their heads that my children were there for a drug deal, and they scattered. And it was the end of the scavenger hunt. Now that's my memory of the experience. Emma has a similar memory, sort of, kind of, but not quite. Sarah doesn't remember it at all. And I had to sit in my energetic space with this meeting in this space and watch this space in me that wanted to convince Sarah that it really happened. That wanted to convince me that it really happened. But if there is no me in the past and there is no me in the future, there's only now. Where does that memory exist? As beautiful as that memory is, it feeds the belief that I was born and will someday die. Does that make sense? These teachings are subtle. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our communities about the trauma that took place in our lives, and how we're trauma, like that's, I hear that from the kids, trauma bonding. You know, we're trauma bonded. We'll be friends for life. We trauma bonded through X, Y, and Z, right? So there's a lot of talk about healing trauma. But in that conversation, while I was sitting in this energy, there's something in me that's started to just practice all the time, like cleaning up and practicing all the time. I saw the urge to try to convince her it really happened, and I didn't. What I saw inside was a pain around letting the memory go. But the memory feeds on history, feeds on who I was over 10 years ago, not today. And this reading and the truth states that the only moment that exists is this one. So what do I really want? What do you really want? Because if what I really want, and I do, is the freedom and peace that comes from being willing to let my attachment to the Cyndi story go. Not the Cyndi, like Cyndi is awesome, by the way, as are all of you, but I'm not her. I love that I get to ride this wave, but the wave ends. And this wave from a linear time period has been going on for 63 years. So it's, what is it, 2/3 of the way through or something? Why do I want to stay attached to identifying as this particular experience, when this teaching and so many of the others that we play with state that we can know that now? What did Ramana Maharshi say when the people around him said, don't go, don't go? He's like, where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. So there's an ache in my heart, because I love those. Like, there's something in here that says, you can't take those scavenger hunts away from me. But the thing is, what are those scavenger hunts are they're an attachment to the good old days. That's one way of putting it, right? They're an attachment to a better time, an attachment to when the kids were young and excited and we all lived together. And I don't want to be attached to the past. Like, everything about the invitation to know the truth states the truth occurs now. Just now. One of the most important steps in the process of coming to the end of suffering is seeing there's something deep inside of us that actually wants to suffer, that actually indulges in suffering. And you know, it's interesting. I'm going to continue to use this one memory, because there's no suffering in the memory, by the way. Even this back and forth, and they're like, it's a fun memory, but there's suffering in it, right? There's pain in it, because it's not now. Suffering comes from believing one way I state what is suffering. Suffering is any moment where you wish this moment was different, like any aspect where you're sitting in an energy that says something has to change in order for this moment to be divine or God or open or peaceful. That's it. Subtle. It's so subtle. The truth is separation, you know, believing that I am separate from the divine, that I am separate from you. There's an energy of fear. There's an energy of wishing it was different. There's an energy of not there yet. And there's no blame or shame or guilt. It's coming up here to be cleaned and seen. Those who hang out with me on a daily basis, have learned that one of my favorite words these days is confess. I confess that this is coming up. I confess that there is an experience of fear here. I confess that I just found some more cobwebs, because it's time to shine a light on all the different corners. And I'm not going to pretend that cleanup isn't happening. But the moment I say confess, I'm watching the cleanup happening. There's a willingness to let it go. There's a willingness to have it healed. And anyone who's hung out in this room long enough knows that awareness alone is curative. So when I can bring these things up to the light, and whatever your version of it is, and just leave it there without justifying, defining, or talking about why, why it has to be there, then the light takes care of it. The light does the heavy lifting, whatever you want to call the light to be. That being said, I am choosing this. I am choosing present moment awareness. I am choosing to surrender everything that isn't fully present in this moment to be offered to the light to be transformed. Adyashanti was pretty clear here. The personality ain't doing the work, right? The personality doesn't know how to do this work. But the personality is being asked to allow the work to take place. If I choose to cling to that memory, we have free will. Whatever this God's, whatever, it's not going to take it away from me. If I want to continue to state the best times of my life are past, or will never exist, or maybe someday in the future, but they ain't now, then there's nothing that the Holy Spirit's going to do but patiently wait. We've been taught that in so many of our teachings. So again, what do you really want? I invite you to join me. We might as well have that direct experience now. One of the most important steps in the process of coming to the end of suffering is seeing there's something deep inside of us that actually wants to suffer, i.e., that actually insists that something has to change in this moment in order to accept the truth of who you are. That actually indulges in suffering, not willing to turn around and look at the light. As I've mentioned, there is a piece of us that wants to suffer because it is through suffering. Chills. So I'm gonna start this line again. There are chills. I learned, I spend a lot of time with Paul Selleck and the guides, and Paul Selleck has indicated to me that it is his understanding that when chills start running through your body, when you're in an energy like this, he's learned that it means something old is being lifted. And that's been very, very useful for me to understand, because again, from a body, mind, personality, I am separate from you. I don't have a clue what's going on here. I can't do anything but give my willingness and soften. I'm inviting us all. I'm inviting you to join me in the willingness to see, hey, what's on the other side of this veil? And then there's these chills that rise, I get thrilled with this understanding that means something old and dense is being lifted. That's all. Okay. As I've mentioned, there is a piece of us that wants to suffer, because it is through suffering that we maintain this wall of separation around us. I don't know about you, but this feels like separation's a choice. We're not victims of the world we see. I know there's a lot of course students here. We are not victims of the world we see. We see what we expect. We see what we project. So it's through, and this is not conscious, and Adyashanti said it in the reading, and again, if anybody wants the PDF that Sami and I, put together for Sami, just let me know. It's not a conscious thing, but if what you're seeing in your world right now is separation and the desire, then there is an energetic desiring for suffering going on, and you can choose the moment you see it to allow the Holy Spirit or the Supreme Brahman or consciousness or the risen Christ. I've heard more names. You can choose to surrender it in the moment you see it. And I'd like to suggest that's the only moment you can choose to surrender it. As I've mentioned, there is a piece of us that wants to suffer, because it is through suffering that we maintain this wall of separation around us. It is through our suffering. Again, let's just say suffering equals believing or feeding the energy that says something about this moment needs to change before I can accept that I'm God. That's one way of putting it, right? If God is everything, then I am that. If the Tao is everything, then I am that. If I am the light of the world, then I am that, right? And so just understand that suffering is just feeding the idea, the belief, the thought that I'm not there yet, that I'm something other than that, right? And I confess that those beliefs and ideas and thoughts are still in the Cyndi mind-body story, but they are being transformed, because the moment I notice, awareness alone is curative. I consciously, every time I notice it, I'm consciously confessing and then resting and allowing something other. I'm God. I'm a dancer. I am, right? It is through our suffering that we continue to hold on to everything we think is true. Wearing the veil of suffering, we don't really have to look at ourselves and say, I'm the one that's dreaming. It's not crazy. How often have we all said, I know I'm an illusion, but I got to deal with it. I know I'm in an illusion, and someday maybe I'll know something other. How often in that moment do we say, oh, I'm not an illusion. I am. If I am insisting on feeding the experience of the illusion, it's because something in me wants to suffer. But I don't got to anymore. I could choose other. The moment I choose something different, the transformation deepens. Wearing the veil of suffering, we don't really have to look at ourselves and say, I'm the one that's dreaming. I'm the one that's full of illusions. Lots of chills here. I join you in that. I don't know if anybody else is feeling them, but I take responsibility. I choose in this moment right now to take full responsibility of this Cyndi mind, body, dream, illusion, whatever you call it. And in taking full responsibility for it, I offer it to the truth, in service of the truth. It's much easier to see that the other person is caught in illusion. And again, I know that there's a lot of Course of Miracles students in this room. So what is the other person but a projection of the guilt that's inside of you that you're choosing not, that you are hiding from yourself, right? As a good Course of Miracles students, we know, and a lot of other traditions, I'm seeing Yolanda going like this, right? Everything outside of us is a projection, period, period. And to use a metaphor a lot of our teachers have used, like, let's picture yourself going into a movie. You're in a movie, the light goes dark, and there's pictures on the screen, and you're not liking what you're seeing. Go ahead and try to change the movie you're watching by changing the screen. Can you even imagine? What are you going to do? You got to find the projector. And actually, in this Kabbalah, I know Marisol's been asking about it. I've been spending, and some others have been spending some time with this Kabbalah teacher, David Giam, and he suggests you can't change the movie either. You can't go and change the projector. What he states, and I love this metaphor, is just know that there are thousands of movies all running at the same time. So every time you say, every time you do this work and you rise in consciousness, you're not changing the movie you're in. You're jumping to another movie. Every single moment you choose love over fear. You choose to pause instead of react. Every moment you come to a meeting like this one and something shifts inside of you, you're not changing your move. You can't change the screen, right? By wanting to change the screen, and you can't change the script of the movie you're in. What we're doing is we're hopping into higher and higher vibrational movies. Yeah. It just, that vision works for me really well. So over there, they're completely lost in illusion. They don't know the truth. Well, let's all choose. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, unbelievable. I don't know what happened, but the good thing I know that linear time is an illusion, right? I'm the one that's caught in the illusion. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's true. And part of me actually wants to suffer because I can remain separate and distinct. Before I move to the next song, I spend a lot of time in MPP classes. And I got to tell you, even if you're already a minister, or if you're not on a ministry, you have no desire to become a minister, like, take these classes anyway. I was about to say Regina created a curriculum that blah, blah, blah. But one of the classes I'm facilitating right now is the intro to the Tao. I hope Jacqueline's here somewhere. And Jacqueline created this curriculum. It's Regina's translation. Yesterday, we had a class yesterday, week 4. Gonna cry. It's the most amazing, like, again, in each one of these MPP, Sami and I have been doing it for years together now. Each one of these MPP classes, it's like whatever this high vibrational space calls the right people, calls the people in to create a space to have an experience. And this particular intro to the Tao course has everyone from newbies to awakening together, all the way to like UN, who helped Regina with the Chinese translation, and it's the 3rd time she's taking the MPP class, whatever. And people who have been, at least one person, I believe Kate, been a minister longer than I have. And we're all just fully committed. And at one point, in one contemplation, someone in the class was reading their contemplation, all choked up. And my whole space went still. Just completely still and empty. And this participant said some version of, it's always here, isn't it? Like, it's never not here. It's never not here. I started to cry. I got real still. A direct experience. It's never not here. We are that for which we're searching. There's a period at the end of that, right? So essentially, we go back to the question. What do you want? What do you really want? Because whatever it is you want, that, and you're willing to stand still in that, that's the experience. Because God wants to give you the kingdom. I love that line. Like, God wants you to have more than you can ever possibly imagine. Are you willing to receive it? That's it. Are you willing to let go of the past? Are you willing to give God or the divine or the Tao what you want the future, and just keep bringing yourself back here? Because that's all you're really being asked to do. Man, I have no idea where the time went. I want to say thank you very much. Crying. If you are guided to donate, please visit our website, or you could use that little, again, I'm losing my ability to speak, but there is that box, donate here to support AT. Your phone can get you to the donate button. I love us at Awakening Together. Thank you for being here and creating this experience. And now we're going to spend a little time with Soul Shine. Yeah, Marisol? Thank you. We have just a few minutes before we move to fellowship, where we're still recording. If anybody would like to share anything at all, like Rana. Hey, Rana.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Can you just feel it? I can feel it, it's just, Cyndi, thank you so much. So clear, kind of tied up a few loose ends, it felt like for me here. And Jill said it in the chat. That's exactly what I was thinking. She hit it out of the park. I mean, what a wonderful teaching that has come through you today, my friend. Thank you for leading me to Awakening Together. I love you all so much.
I love you too. And honest to God, I didn't know any of what was going to be said until it was said. It really happened the way it was. And I love how I learned that through this space of just becoming the empty open channel and allowing us to create this together. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything else while the recording is still on? If not, Marisol, I think I could shall I just hand it back to you? Man, I love us. Thank you.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.